I thought Star Wars was really good. Didn't you? It was good. It brought me back to all the things that I thought were great about the first three, and especially the focus on heroes becoming heroes, discovering something about themselves that they never knew, and then rising to take action that would save others. In all the reading and listening that I've done about Star Wars, which is just something I do about movies that I see, and then I read everything I can find about them, listen to all sorts of podcasts and waste all sorts of time, I came across something I had forgotten about the original series. Yes, of course, it's based on the archetypal themes of good versus evil. I remember studying that in my 11th grade English class. But I had forgotten that George Lucas based the story on the writings of scholar Joseph Campbell, who was the first to identify what's called the hero's journey in literature. Campbell's idea that so inspired Lucas was that there is a pattern that's found in all sorts of literature, drama and storytelling and myths especially, that is remarkably consistent throughout cultures and throughout stories and time, and that seems to stir something deep inside all human beings. Campbell's hero's journey has components like the ordinary world, when the hero is not a hero yet, and is living in an ordinary world, feeling uneasy about that world, but continuing with his normal life. Then the call to adventure, when something shakes up that ordinary world, and the hero must begin to question his place in it. Then the refusal of the call, when the hero resists the call to adventure, thinking himself unworthy or being too afraid to take action, too afraid of the unknown. From here, the hero meets a mentor and goes through a series of tests and a great ordeal, and then a challenging return, complete with a moment when his followers believe that he has been killed. Each of these components is so common in our stories that we may not even notice them, but all our classic hero stories, from Lord of the Rings to Game of Thrones to Batman, follow much of this pattern. What I had never thought about before, all the chatter about Star Wars drew it to my attention, was that many of the stories in our Torah have components of this pattern as well, and chief among them, the story of Moses in this week's Torah portion, and for the remainder of our Torah, in fact. Moses is the Luke Skywalker of ancient literature. Moses lives in an ordinary life as a shepherd in Midian. He receives a call to adventure and resists it at the burning bush. In this week's Parsha, he has mentors and challenges, goes through all sorts of tests, leaves Egypt only to have another trial at the Red Sea, goes up Mount Sinai for so long that the people at the bottom of the mountain believe that he is dead, and then he comes back with the 10 Commandments in his arms. His journey is, in many ways, that of Joseph Campbell's hero. One of the criticisms of the hero's journey, and probably one of the reasons that we love these stories so much, is that they are infused with magic and incredible situations. Not everyone can be this kind of a hero, because according to the pattern, their experiences are so grand, their traits so remarkable, that relating to them and really emulating them is only possible for a very few. These stories can bring us into a world of fantasy, but the criticism leveled against them is that they can't truly teach us how to live and face the humdrum challenges of being a normal, flawed human being, as many of us probably are. But what the Torah does, which is so remarkable, is that it demonstrates how deeply flawed individuals can make this kind of a hero's journey, how we can undergo inner change and never become perfect, yet still consider our lives a triumph. Moses is denied entrance into the promised land even after all the heroic things that he's done, because his actions from earlier in his life bear consequences, as all of ours do. Jacob finally returns to the land of his birth, and he is a changed man. He has grown, but he has not achieved perfection by any stretch. Abraham's call to adventure of Lech Lecha, the famous passage in Genesis 12, makes clear that he will get to start this heroic journey, but he will not complete it. In fact, that is one of the Torah's greatest lessons. No hero begins and ends a journey on his own. He or she is part of a bigger story, a call and a series of challenges that will last forever and be passed from generation to generation throughout time. There is always another hero's journey waiting around the corner for each person in the Torah, always another call to dig deeper, to climb higher, to return a little wiser and more equipped to help others. And there is always a continuation of that journey for the next generation. So part of the job of the generation that is in focus is to prepare their children, to educate and equip them to preserve the story and the lessons that they have learned so that their children can also hear the call to adventure and participate in the grand task at hand. The Torah, unlike other literature, refuses to glorify any one single human being as being a perfect hero, even Moses. Rather, it tells us that each of us has a little bit of a hero in us, that we are needed to hear our own call at our own burning bush, that we have gifts that can save others, and that for absolute certainty, we will make huge mistakes along the way. But that doesn't undermine our ability to play an important role in the unfolding drama of our people. Each and every bar mitzvah is a chance for a young person to stand up and consider himself part of that journey, to begin to listen to his own call, to begin to seek out his own gifts and his own talents, and to know, mistakes and all, that his community is proud to share this story with him. So we now come to the moment in the service when we invite Zachary and his family to the bima to mark this occasion as he prepares to read from the very scroll where I believe the hero's journey was born, to read about the original Luke Skywalker, and to take his place in the story of his people,